So we touched slightly on Sam Howell. We're going to move across to maybe the least exciting matchup of the week. It's Arizona at Washington. Look, let's start with Arizona. I'm not touching anybody in this game. Maybe Marquise Brown, but I'm not that overly excited about it. James Conner, yeah, is kind of a plug and play RB2. I'm a little bit intrigued if Rondell Moore's going to get high target volume just because Josh Dobbs or Clayton Tune, whoever it is, isn't going to be able to push the ball downfield. Are you touching anyone in Arizona in DFS?
No, and I think if you looked at the way that sites have projected ownership for this contest in DFS, it wouldn't be surprising if the Cardinals' defense was the highest rostered of any of them, simply because, there's an element that, okay, Sam Howell could absolutely poo to bed. But James Conner, he's 6,400. And on other weeks, there would be reasons to want to play a running back like him at 6,400. But we don't know what we're getting from the Arizona quarterback room. Are they going to dump the ball off in the same way that Colt McCoy did last year when Kyler Murray was out? So I can't play him. Marquise Brown, I think he was limited in practice dealing with a hamstring issue. So that's really tricky for me. I think the more sneaky play and the more interesting side of things is going to be the Commanders this week. They couldn't have asked for more of a cupcake start to the season against a team that everyone expects to be the number one overall pick next year. You can stack Sam Howell and Jahan Dotson for less than 10K on DraftKings this week, which is incredibly appealing. They're currently not projected to be very highly rostered, so it can be the kind of play which you want to do in tournaments. But I wouldn't be surprised if through the weekend, if Terry McLaurin gets ruled out, that Jahan Dotson, yeah, much like James says in the chat, absolutely goes to the moon with his projection, because we're looking for those players to save the salary so we can go and find players like Justin Jefferson. In terms of redraft, I think you can start Terry McLaurin if he plays. I think you can start Jahan Dotson. The running back room is going to be particularly interesting, though, because this wasn't a room where we saw the coaching staff kind of lean towards Brian Robinson when he came back from his gunshot wound last year. But he didn't do a whole lot on the back of it that made you think, okay, he has absolute command, pardon the pun, of this running back room. He averaged 3.9 yards per carry compared to Antonio Gibson's 3.7. And he had like one reception per game compared to 3 for Antonio Gibson. So it's like it feels very easy to divide their roles one way or the other. But perhaps this is the week to take a shot on Brian Robinson, because this coaching staff had been giving him like 19 touches per game from week 11 onwards compared to 9 for Gibson. So I don't hate that. I think if you're going to go with Jahan Dotson and if you're going to go with Sam Howell, I don't mind taking a complete dart throw on Michael Wilson at 3,000 on DraftKings. I think that's not the kind of play I would recommend anyone did in a managed format. But yeah, I don't mind doing that at all.
No, I like the Michael Wilson pick. It's a player that I certainly dabbled in with best ball. I think he was a fantastic talent, fantastic prospect. The problem was that he couldn't stay healthy. And so never really did it in college. But my biggest concern, Tom, we talk about following the money. We talk about, using Vegas to help us. This is the lowest over under on the week. And yet 85% of cash is currently on the under. Like that to me has got massive alarm bells of whether we should be avoiding this. But we've got a question in the chat about Sam Howell. Hey guys, would Sam Howell be a better stash in redraft than Evan Hull moving ahead? What are the chances that he outscores Danny Dimes this weekend? For me, I'm not stashing, presuming this is a one quarterback league, I'm not stashing any second quarterback in a one quarterback league. I'd much rather the home run opportunity of the running back. And yeah, I'd definitely be starting Daniel Dimes over Sam Howell. What about you, Tom?
Yeah, agreed. I think, I'm not in on Evan Hull. I'm not in on the Colts backup running backs. I feel like they're a spot where they could easily end up bringing a veteran in at this point still, if they decide they are going to be without Jonathan Taylor for the whole season. But much like you said, I'm not interested in stashing quarterbacks in single quarterback leagues.